So let me just set this up. So we've got 2 years ago, we've got Chris Stevens, our ambassador. Now, folks, I'm not going to be too graphic because I know we have kids listening, but just hear me. This is in the news. This is fact. Chris Stevens molested, let me say it like that, tortured, and then murdered in the streets, okay, by crowds of people. Molested, tortured, murdered.
Yeah.
Our American ambassador, the embassy torched, people killed, destroyed.
Right.
The Obama administration, within hours and then over the next several days, deny. Well, we had nothing to do. We didn't know. Well, how about the military that was standing right, ready to happen? No, that didn't. No, that didn't. Well, how about the orders to stand down? No, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Military officials coming forward back then, you remember 2 years ago, saying, wait a minute, we were right there. We could have intervened. We could have helped. We could have stopped. We could have prevented this. Obama administration, no, that's a lie. That's not true. No, that didn't happen. Well, what did happen, Obama? What did happen, White House? Well, it was a video. It was a video that 30 people watched on YouTube, and it caused our ambassador to be molested and tortured publicly and murdered in the streets, and the embassy to be burned down, and there was nothing we could do about it. So this evil man who produced this evil video, that's what caused the whole thing. Now here we are 2 years later. We've been begging Boehner and the to do something about it. They wouldn't, they couldn't, and then all of a sudden emails leak.
Right.
Which makes them have to deal with it. And now that they're having to deal with it, what do we find out? That everything we said 2 years ago, we were called names for it. We were called names when we said, here's what really happened. We were called conspiracy theorists and idiots and racist and all that. But what do we find out now? We were dead on. Everything we said happened. We're now finding out from sworn testimony and documents it happened. Now, folks, hear me. We found out the NSA debacle was a lie. We found out Obamacare was a lie. Sure. We found out the IRS targeting was a lie. They were doing it, but they were denying it. We found out Fast and Furious was a lie. Now we find out Benghazi was a lie. Hear me, folks. Do you imagine the birth certificate thing is a lie? Do you imagine? Well, I know it is. And you're getting ready. What you're getting ready to find out in the next few months is going to blow this world, this nation away, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. It is what Mike Zullo say, universe-shattering, history-making information, and it's really bigger than any of this stuff I've already said when it finally comes out. But I'm just telling you, folks, you know, Mike Shoesmith, Mike Zullo, myself, ppsimmons, we're not liars, we're not idiots. We're not tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. We research, we think, we investigate. We can be wrong sometimes, and when we are, we get it right. But so far, on all of this stuff, we've been dead on correct.
All of that happening under the direct care and auspice of the liar-in-chief, who said in recorded interviews, there is not a quote-unquote smidgen of corruption in the IRS.
That's what he said. If you like your doctor, keep your doctor.
Now, all of this, he's the head.
That's right.
Of all of these agencies who are overflowing with corruption.
Right.
To keep this man afloat as President of the United States, he is a pathological liar. And what he has said about the IRS, what he has said about the Benghazi tragedy, what he has said about all of this, Obamacare. We have documented all of these lies, all of them. Every single major paradigm coming down from the White House has been undergirded and supported by lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. They owe Terry Jones a public apology.
Explain why. All right, you just said a mouthful. You just said something profound. They, the White House and Congress, now owes, we believe, Terry Jones an apology. Tell the people who Terry Jones is. Tell them why they owe this man an apology and why his name has not come up, but yet it has. Tell them that.
Well, it has because, I mean, think about it. Think about what happened in Benghazi, Libya. It's horrific. It's a horror show.
Yeah.
I mean, words aren't powerful enough to express what happened there, and it would make a feeling man cry.
I can describe what happened there, but about half of our listeners would turn their radio off right now because it's so nasty to listen to, and or we have kids listening. So but it's that horrible. But how does this tie into this guy named Terry Jones?
Well, with all of that happening, they have the gall and the audacity to blame it on a YouTube video created in part by a pastor in Florida, Terry Jones. Pastor Terry Jones, everybody knows him as the Koran-burning pastor, but he's a man of God. He loves the Lord, and they made this video. Now, he is there may be better ways of getting his message out. We may not agree with the way he does it, but his First Amendment guarantees that he can do it.
Yeah, and stop right there, and I'm going to let you go on with the story, but let me remind the people. P.Simmons Ministry, Brandon Big B, has actually interviewed Terry Jones on camera once, and I think with P.Simmons Radio another time, I believe. Isn't that correct?
We'll have to double-check that.
I'm almost positive he did. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
He did, yeah. I remember that. And so Brandon Big B has interviewed Terry Jones twice, once on camera. Terry Jones is a brilliant, articulate man.
Right, sure.
He spent 30 years in Europe in Muslim-infiltrated countries. Mm-hmm. He has ministered to, talked to, witnessed to, and debated with Muslims for 30 years. So then he comes back to America, and he sees that what happened in Europe is happening exactly the same way with the Islamic radicals in America. So he begins speaking to that here. He writes a book on it. Mm-hmm. Then to try to desperately draw American attention, he starts this Koran burning thing, which, by the way, is not illegal. And, by the way, it's not unbiblical either. As a matter of fact, it's very biblical. According
it is Acts 19.
Acts 19.
Sure. Yeah.
And so he does this, and the media immediately brands him as a racist, an idiot, an Islamophobic whack job. But when you talk to him, you realize this guy, he's the same as you and I are.
I've met him. I have interviewed him. I have shaken his hand.
Yes.
He's a man of honor and dignity. He was a presidential candidate.
Yes, he sure was.
And I just want to say about Terry Jones' involvement in all this Benghazi thing, he is owed one gigantic apology.
Yes.
He's been dragged through, a private citizen, dragged through the mud.
And lied about by our president and by his administration.
Without cause.
Yep.
If anybody in this country is owed an apology, it's Pastor Terry Jones. I say we rally for this. Come on, who's with me?
I'm telling you.
Are you with me?
Well, we were doing it right now. And we're begging people that are listening to us, P.P. Simmons News and Ministry Network, Facebook folks, social networking, tell people about this.
Right.
You're not going to hear his name probably on the news. Maybe Fox, they might mention his name.
Yeah.
But the mainstream media, when they're talking about these film producers, now see, the evidence is now coming up in these congressional hearings. The film didn't have anything to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Which means they lied about Terry Jones. Now, Terry Jones is a Baptist pastor of an independent faith, I think. Yeah. No, he's not Baptist. He's I think non-denominational. He's non-denominational. Okay. It doesn't matter.
We'll get confirmation.
The point is, he's an evangelical Christian pastor.
Sure is.
Folks, that's what I am.
Right.
Okay.
Me too.
So they took that man that they were a little afraid of because he was getting a big voice and he was a little controversial, and they trashed him and lied about him. Listen to me, folks, from the White House.
Right.
From the White House. And now these congressional investigations of the last 2 days are confirming. I mean, it's a no-brainer now.
Yeah.
Terry Jones didn't have anything
he's been
to do with it.
Completely vindicated, and he is owed an apology, from a public apology.
Yes.
He was trashed publicly. The apology must be public, and we demand it here today.
That's what we're saying.
That's right.
That's what we're saying. So anyway, that's why, Darren was saying, praise God for Boehner. He's finally doing it. Okay, I agree with you, Darren. I do. Right. However, I'm still hot under the collar with John Boehner because Terry Jones, and this is not the only reason I'm hot under the collar with John Boehner. I mean, let me put it like this. Chris Stevens was abused, molested, tortured, and murdered, and he is a U.S. ambassador, and John Boehner refused to deal with an investigation of it.
Right. Sure.
And now that the investigation's going because it had to, because of document leaks, now we discover that the man they hung it on, one of the men, there's a couple of people they were kind of hanging it on. One of the men that they were hanging it on, Terry Jones, he's completely vindicated.
That's
and they
right.
won't even say his name,
That's right.
Mike. They won't even say his name, much less apologize.
It's amazing. And if Boehner and his cohorts would have done their job in the first place and really, truly investigated the eligibility of this man, Barack Obama, none of this would be a problem.
And it all ties to this.
It's amazing.
Because I remember Mike Zullo said probably a year ago, he said, look, if they would have vetted this guy from the first place, he said, think about it. Benghazi wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Think about it. Obamacare wouldn't have happened.
That's true.
Think about it.
That's right.
Some of the NSA scandals that are going on, some of them would not have happened.
That's right.
Some of the IRS scandals that are going on, some of them would not have happened. Fast and Furious would not have happened. Why? Because Eric Holder wouldn't be in office. That probably wouldn't have happened. I mean, we can go on down the road. See, elections matter.
That's
the Constitution gives qualifications for president. It matters. And when we discovered early on that this man had all of his identifying documents locked down, to this day, people, I wish somebody would call up and call me a liar on this. We don't know where he's from. We don't know who he is.
No, we sure don't.
Somebody call up and call me a liar, please. I'm begging you.
I would never dare.
Call me up and tell me I'm a liar that no one officially knows where he's from. Please call me up and tell me I'm a liar.
True.
Because, boy, do I have something for you, especially in the next couple months you will discover. But the point is, as you just said, if they had done their job, if Congress had done their job, the Constitution says that Congress is supposed to determine the eligibility once it comes back from the Electoral College. It is their responsibility. I think it's Amendment 20. I believe that's where it is, or Article 20. Excuse me. I believe it's there. I've read it. I've seen it. I've read it several times. I'm just not remembering exactly where in the Constitution. But Congress is supposed to do it. Listen, we've had several federal courts. When all this Obama eligibility stuff went to them, you know what they ruled? This is Congress's responsibility according to the Constitution.
Sure it is.
So see, Darren, that's why I'm very, very distraught with John Boehner.
Right.
Even though you're happy he's doing the Benghazi, and I agree with you, Darren. I'm not trashing what you said. I'm just saying I am not happy with this man at all. The only reason he's doing the Benghazi investigation right now is because he had to.
Right.
Because he had to. Well, I tell you what we've got to do. We've got to take a time out.